The water inlet pipe to the garage is a 3/4-inch copper pipe. There is no visible plumbing connecting the house to the garage. The water inlet pipe appears to be grounding a wire that is encased in a metal spiral casing. The wires from the grounding wire are cut and previously connected to a ground box. The water pipe and the ground in the front sidewalk appears to run along the property line between the house and the neighbor's trailer. Firstly, it's possible that the garage has its own separate water service that is not connected to the house. Check for a separate water meter or invoice for water usage specific to the garage. Secondly, the grounding wire may be intended for ground fault protection. When a ground fault occurs, the current flows through the grounding wire and trips the circuit breaker or fuse, preventing electrical shock. However, the cut wires indicate that this feature is not currently functional. Thirdly, the cut wires may have belonged to a previous electrical installation that was removed or disconnected. The metal spiral casing provides protection for the wires and helps reduce electromagnetic interference. To confirm the source of the water supply to the garage and to assess the condition of the grounding wire, it is recommended to contact a licensed plumber. If the grounding wire is intended for electrical protection, it should be repaired and reconnected to the ground box to ensure proper safety measures. If there is no visible plumbing connecting the house to the garage, consider excavating along the property line to trace the water pipe's path and verify if there is a buried connection. When dealing with water pipes and electrical grounding, safety is paramount. Firstly, always ensure the power is disconnected before working on any electrical components. This prevents the risk of electric shock. Secondly, when working with plumbing, be aware of the potential for water damage. Turn off the water supply to the area you are working on to minimize the risk of leaks or flooding. Thirdly, if you are not comfortable working with either plumbing or electrical systems, it is best to call a qualified professional. Plumbers and electricians have the training and experience to handle these tasks safely and effectively. Consider the function of the grounding wire connected to the water pipe. Electrical grounding is a critical safety feature in electrical systems. It provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, causing a circuit breaker to trip or a fuse to blow. This protects people from electric shock and prevents damage to electrical equipment. The grounding wire connected to the water pipe is likely part of the building's grounding system. Its purpose is to ensure that all metal parts of the electrical system are at the same potential, which helps to prevent dangerous voltage differences. The fact that the wires from the grounding wire are cut is a concern. This means that the grounding system is not functioning properly, and there is an increased risk of electric shock. It is important to have this repaired as soon as possible by a qualified electrician. The metal spiral casing that encases the wires is known as flexible metal conduit, often called greenfield. It is used to protect electrical wires from damage and to provide a path for grounding. The conduit is typically made of galvanized steel or aluminum. The size of the water pipe is also important. A 3/4-inch pipe is a common size for residential water service. The size of the pipe determines the amount of water that can flow through it. If the pipe is too small, it may not be able to supply enough water to meet the demands of the house or garage. The location of the water pipe in the ground in the front sidewalk is also relevant. The water pipe is likely buried below the frost line to prevent it from freezing in the winter. The depth of the frost line varies depending on the location. It is important to know the depth of the frost line in the area to ensure that the water pipe is properly protected. Also, consider that the water service running along the property line may be subject to local regulations and easements. Confirm that the placement of the water line is in accordance with the local building and plumbing codes. When excavating to trace the water pipe, be extremely careful not to damage any underground utilities, such as gas lines, electrical cables, or other water pipes. Contact the local utility companies before digging to have them mark the locations of their underground facilities. Before contacting a plumber, gather as much information as possible about the water system. This includes the location of all water meters, shut-off valves, and pipes. Also, take pictures of any areas of concern, such as leaks or damage. This information will help the plumber to diagnose the problem and recommend the best solution. When contacting an electrician, provide them with as much information as possible about the electrical system. This includes the location of all electrical panels, outlets, and switches. Also, let them know about any problems you have been experiencing, such as flickering lights or tripping circuit breakers. This information will help the electrician to troubleshoot the problem and make the necessary repairs. Remember that plumbing and electrical work can be dangerous. If you are not comfortable performing these tasks yourself, it is best to hire a qualified professional. They have the training, experience, and tools to do the job safely and correctly. After a professional repairs the grounding wire, ask them to test the grounding system to ensure that it is functioning properly. This will help to protect from electric shock. Similarly, after a plumber repairs or replaces any water pipes, ask them to test the water pressure to ensure that it is adequate. Low water pressure can be a sign of a problem with the water system. If there are concerns about the quality of the water, consider having it tested by a certified laboratory. This can identify any contaminants that may be present in the water. Consider the age of the plumbing and electrical systems in the garage. If they are old, they may be nearing the end of their lifespan and may need to be replaced. Replacing old plumbing and electrical systems can improve the safety and efficiency of the garage. If the garage has its own separate water service, consider installing a water meter to track water usage. This can help to identify leaks and conserve water. The information available suggests several possible scenarios and solutions regarding the water supply and grounding wire in the garage. It is essential to approach this situation systematically and prioritize safety. Let's break down the key aspects and explore potential courses of action. Firstly, regarding the water supply, the primary question is whether the garage has a separate water service or if it is connected to the house. The absence of visible plumbing connecting the house to the garage suggests a separate service. The most definitive way to confirm this is to check for a separate water meter dedicated to the garage. This meter would measure the water consumption specifically for the garage. Check the property for a second water meter, possibly near the property line or where the water line enters the garage. Also, review water bills to see if there are separate charges or accounts for the house and garage. If a separate meter exists, it confirms that the garage has its own water service, independent of the house. If no separate meter is found, it is still possible that the garage is connected to the house's water line, but the connection is buried underground. To investigate this, consider carefully excavating along the property line between the house and the garage, focusing on the area where the water pipe enters the garage. This excavation should be done cautiously to avoid damaging any underground utilities or the water pipe itself. If a connection is found, it will clarify how the garage receives its water supply. If the garage has a separate water service, consider the implications for water usage and billing. Is the water usage being accurately measured and billed? Are there any leaks in the system that could be wasting water? It may be beneficial to install a shut-off valve on the garage water line to isolate it in case of repairs or emergencies. Secondly, consider the grounding wire and electrical safety. The grounding wire connected to the water pipe is a critical component of the electrical grounding system. Its purpose is to provide a safe path for fault current to flow back to the electrical panel, tripping a circuit breaker and preventing electrical shock. The fact that the wires from the grounding wire are cut is a serious safety concern. This means that the grounding system is not functioning properly and there is an increased risk of electrical shock. The grounding wire should be repaired and reconnected to a ground box as soon as possible by a qualified electrician. Before attempting any repairs, ensure that the power to the circuit is turned off at the main electrical panel. This will prevent the risk of electric shock. If the ground box is damaged or corroded, it should be replaced with a new one. The grounding wire should be securely connected to the ground box using appropriate connectors. The metal spiral casing, or flexible metal conduit, provides physical protection for the wires and also serves as a grounding path. Ensure that the conduit is properly connected to the ground box and to the electrical equipment it serves. After the grounding wire is repaired, an electrician should test the grounding system to ensure that it is functioning correctly. This test will verify that the grounding path is continuous and that it is capable of carrying fault current. If the garage has any electrical outlets or equipment, they should be checked to ensure that they are properly grounded. This can be done using a simple circuit tester. If any outlets or equipment are not grounded, they should be repaired by an electrician. Thirdly, contact qualified professionals. Given the complexities of plumbing and electrical systems, it is recommended to consult with licensed plumbers and electricians. They have the expertise to accurately assess the situation, identify any underlying problems, and perform the necessary repairs safely and effectively. A plumber can help determine the source of the water supply to the garage, assess the condition of the water pipes, and make any necessary repairs or modifications. An electrician can evaluate the electrical grounding system, repair the cut grounding wire, and ensure that all electrical components are properly grounded. When contacting plumbers and electricians, provide them with as much information as possible about the situation. This includes the observations from the photos, any known history of the plumbing and electrical systems, and any specific concerns. Obtain multiple quotes from different professionals to ensure that the price is fair and competitive. Check the credentials and references of any plumber or electrician before hiring them. Ensure that they are licensed and insured. Fourthly, investigate potential code compliance issues. Plumbing and electrical systems are subject to local building codes and regulations. These codes are designed to ensure the safety and proper functioning of these systems. Consult with the local building department to determine the applicable codes for the area. Ensure that any repairs or modifications to the plumbing and electrical systems comply with these codes. If there are any code violations, they should be corrected to avoid potential fines or other penalties. Fifthly, consider long-term solutions. Depending on the age and condition of the plumbing and electrical systems, it may be beneficial to consider long-term solutions, such as replacing old or outdated components. Replacing old water pipes can improve water quality and prevent leaks. Upgrading the electrical panel and wiring can improve the safety and reliability of the electrical system. These long-term solutions can be more expensive upfront, but they can save money in the long run by reducing the risk of future repairs and improving the overall value of the property. Finally, document all work performed. Keep a record of all inspections, repairs, and modifications performed on the plumbing and electrical systems. This documentation will be helpful for future maintenance and repairs. It can also be useful when selling the property.